Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck.
Spiritual as fuck.
Where spirituality meets the real world. I'm Liz Volpe, social entrepreneur, psychic medium, teacher, and founder of the Intuition Academy. I am passionate about inspiring people to dream big and change the world.
I'm Diane Driscoll, a coach, facilitator, keynote speaker, and self-directed healing practitioner. I am fascinated with all things science, spirituality, and self-leadership, and love the journey of incorporating my spiritual gifts into my life and business.
We share real and raw spiritual stories, give you a safe space to challenge what's normal, and have some serious fun along the way. If the podcast isn't enough, we invite you to our monthly online events and workshops with some of the world's best spiritual teachers.
Plus, join our Spiritual Renegades community and get bonus episodes and lots of exclusive content. Everything you need to be spiritual as fuck.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, do we have one hell of a special episode for you today? Diane, are you prepared with your drink?
I am. I've got a cup of coffee here. Not exactly what you do for a cheers.
Well, I've got a glass of red wine. So yes, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary episode, which is honestly pretty epic. We are ready for some fun today, definitely, as we're going to kind of deep dive and take a trip down memory lane. How are you feeling, Diane?
Oh, I think it's so good just to look back and reflect. And I still have pinch me moments that, I'm happy for me and you to catch up and meet our guests, but to think this actually goes out into the world, that people enjoy the episodes, that they engage with us on social media. And it's we've got this massive tribe, massive following, and everybody has been part of this journey. So it's not just us looking back, it's everyone else looking back too.
Oh, absolutely. And for us to put this together, we've really had to go through what are those really memorable episodes? What are the things that have just made us laugh, made us cry, made us want to continue on this spiritual journey? And we are going to bundle them all up for you today. And just want to say a massive special thank you for coming along for this ride with us, because you have kind of just stood right beside us as we have discovered and had these incredible conversations and met these amazing guests. And obviously probably spoken a lot of shit along the way, Diane. Well, everyone listens, so it's fine. So today we're going to revisit some of the listener favorites and our favorites as well. And we have decided to choose some of our top snippets to share as well. So it's going to be pretty cool. Now, first of all, we're going to kick off with some of our top psychic medium moments. Now, we know that psychic mediums are your favorite. We can tell that by the amount of people that have tuned in, downloaded, and listened. And there's certainly bring back some absolutely awesome memories for us. So I think we should probably go into the first one. I'd like to just kick off with a really quick story, because this first snippet that we're going to show is so memorable for me because it was one of our first interviews. I remember being so nervous because we had no idea what the hell we were doing. We were like, podcast? All right, let's just give it a go. We'll get a guest on. And this guest that we managed to get on straight away was just super amazing and popular. And yeah, the nerves were there. You were on a screen, Diane.
Yes.
And I was in an office. And I remember we were trying to be all techie and you were set up and you were on the screen. And then I had to go down to reception to get him. And he was like, holy shit, can we pull this off? But we pulled it off. It was such an awesome interview.
And he made it so easy for us. So,
yeah. He did. We had it was probably the best guest we could ever have for the first guest. And we ended that interview on an absolute high after shitloads of fun. Who does everyone think it is? Should we take a listen?
Honestly, don't know who this is for. So I'm just going to sort of talk and sort of see where we go with it. But we did have an older gentleman who was making his presence clear, who references being the partner of the mother. So whether either of your mothers unfortunately had a partner that did cross over, there is a reference of a C-O-N or a con, like K-O-N.
I knew this was for you. Okay, I'm going to get teary-eyed because I do, but that's okay. My mum's partner passed away, and his name is Connie.
Perfect. Good.
And
So
you
that's
said
what
partner of the mother, and you said CON. Like, it doesn't get any closer.
And that was the thing for me. So that's not your father, understandably, because for me it was
Not my
the partner
father.
of the mother. So that's the thing. It didn't have to be.
Yes.
So yeah, the con sound for me really does want to step forward. He does validate that. Been in your mother's life for quite a long time, but he did also pass away quite a longer time ago at the same time. Now, there is a reference of the Irish connection, of course. We're not Northern Irish here, because we are sort of going towards Dublin area. Now, I don't know whether he was born or lived in Dublin, or whether the family, someone said like Dull, like D-U-L. I don't know whether that makes sense with anything. But he says he was also a father himself, but he's grateful for getting to know her, Dave, getting to know you, because it's sort of like, she's a special girl, Dave, and I'm glad that even though she was older when I came into her life, he says her Pat and I had great times. Who's Pat?
My mother's name is Patricia.
Patricia.
Now, he didn't call her Pat, but
No,
still,
he said
like,
it to
that's
me, yeah.
another. You can't make that up.
Yeah,
God.
because they will shorten their names to me sometimes to get letters in. But Con definitely wants to say hello. He's quite a character. Like, I don't think he takes anything in life very seriously. But definitely for Patricia, Connie definitely wants to reach out and say hello. The understanding that even though he did pass a longer time ago, that she still does talk to him every day and does really sort of pray and grieve for him. And he's very acknowledgeable of that as well, because he's very grateful that even though he met her later in life, that he was able to get onto her very quickly as well, if that makes sense, in terms of being able to lock her down and form that bond and that relationship throughout everything that they went through, that we finally got there. Did he have a heart attack? Yeah, I just got very sharp pain through here. And that was the thing, because for him it's very, you just said the word anyway, but it's very sudden and or unexpected. He does reference a very quick passing. He's wishing me a happy birthday, which I know why, because my birthday is March 17th and Pat's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. He loves St. Patrick's
Yeah,
Day.
that's the thing, because I was like, why is he freaking in my birthday? I guess if he loves St. Patrick's Day, it's probably why he wants to make a point of it as well.
Oh my God.
Oh, it takes instantly to that moment. Oh, there's just like, there are so many things in that clip that
Wow.
that are just validated. Even it's when I listen back to it, and he was mentioning about Dublin and Dull. He was saying Dull. I'm from Donegal. Connie is from Donegal, so he was getting through that sound, but he obviously didn't know what it was. But that clip, that experience was such a gift to my family, to my mum, to my sisters, to so many people, because absolutely so much stuff was validated. So much stuff came through. And like you can see in the clip, like I'm a blubbering mess. My eyes are all glassed over with tears. It's like,
I just got goosebumps even watching that back. I mean, we all love David. He's just amazing.
oh, just incredible. Like so much, so many things, to have so many things come through. Like I think the big thing for me was partner of the mother. So how he phrased that, like that was, it could only, you knew instantly, you were like almost jumping through the screen to say, this is for you. Yes. Oh, just, yeah. Like when I think for anyone who is a psychic medium to have that gift, to be able to give the gift of connection to people, it is just unbelievable. And for me to have that as our first guest, as our first live experience, and that it was such personal messages, and to be able to share that with everybody, like that was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Even from a completely different perspective, at that point in time, I was slowly coming out of the closet as a medium myself. And it was really nice to be able to sit with David, who was really down to earth, really friendly, see him in action, in awe of his confidence and how easy he made it all look. And I don't know, it just gave me like a lot of hope. Okay, I can just be me. And that's what I love about David, is that he just does it. He's real, he's raw, he's authentic, and he's got a really great way of delivering a message.
Absolutely. And so much, I love that, I'm sure on other podcasts, guests come and go, but our connection to David has been so strong. Like we cheer each other on, and, he has started his own podcast now, Medium at Large. If you're not listening, tune in. And also like sellouts, tour around Australia, just going from strength to strength. So having someone like that as a a role model, a way shower of just how things are done. And to think that, yeah, he was our first guest, it's incredible.
And we will always be his biggest fan. Yes, David,
Absolutely.
that's right. We will always be your biggest fan.
Always, always.
So, obviously, that's one down. I wonder who's going to be next.
You know how everyone thinks like Halloween is the day where the realm,
Yeah.
spirit world is finished. I don't buy into that at all. I don't think like Halloween really truly represents the spirit world in any way. But I know it goes back to further traditions, but I truly believe that Christmas and like the holidays is the time where the spirit world, the veil between us and the spirit world becomes the thinnest. And that's because like you've got such a massive percentage of the world's population thinking and calling out, even if they don't know they're calling out, to all of their loved ones, drawing them in, saying, I wish they were here, I wish they were around. And the spirit world gathers so much because of that collective power of everyone thinking that and wishing for their loved ones to be closer. So Christmas is a powerful, powerful time for your loved ones to be able to show themselves to you, to pop up in unexpected ways, and for you to be able to try not to allow yourself to feel that sadness and the heaviness that they're not there, but try and trust that they are there and allow yourself to reconnect with them so that they can show themselves to you. The way that I encourage people to do it is to like, let's do this right now. And we can see what happens. We might even have some signs popping up before the end of the recording, but just close your eyes and think of a particular loved one that you would love to have a proven connection with show up in the world around you. And just allow yourself to remember what it's like to be around them. Remember what their sense of humor, their personality, their presence feels like. And as you do that, they are showing up right next to you, standing with you, and just ask them to show you an image in your mind. And just go with whatever the first thing is. Don't allow it to spiral into 5 different things. Trust the first thing that comes into your mind. And now you can just send them your love and open your eyes back up, bringing back the image, whatever it was. Even if it was just a glimpse of an image, even if you just thought of something and there was no image, trust whatever that symbol that showed up for you was. And sometime over the next 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, that is going to show up somehow in your reality.
Oh, special episode. That was the fact that it was such a live event. And Sean Collins, just his energy is absolutely beautiful. Like we were so fortunate to have him. And for me, that was absolutely one of our most amazing episodes. It was episode 25 for anybody who wants to go back and listen to it. And it was all those Christmas connections. But I love that he dispelled the myth about Halloween and the veil being thinnest. Like that for me was like, I'd never heard that before, but it makes sense that at Christmas time, we all think of our loved ones where there's extra focus, extra attention on them. We miss them that bit more. So that collective energy being in and, having so much love around them just brings them closer to us. Like I really, really love that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that over the last year since we did that live event, I've actually sent people when they're going through grief or they're experiencing that hard time to go and listen to that, because it's just a nice reminder. And Sean delivers it again in this really good way, because he's just a natural teacher. And I know that, that's Sean's expertise. He's taught so many, I wouldn't even like to guess the number of people to work within the spirit realm, whether it be psychic mediumship and everything in between, like all of the stuff around it as well. And I've been lucky to spend some time with Sean on a workshop, and he's just great. Everyone needs to follow him on social media. I said to him myself, you do really good social media posts, things that really make you think.
Yes.
And that episode, there was a lot of teaching there. So the amount, not only did we get blessed with, the validation from the spirit world for some people online, but we got taught. And I think everyone walked away feeling like they gained a lot after that live event.
Absolutely. And it was so important to include that teaching moment, I think, so people can remind themselves of that. So even if you were there for the event or you'd listen to that particular episode, just to go through that again and know, like, we're heading for Christmas again. And the best news is we've got Sean coming back again.
Yay!
Like he is gracing us with his gifts once again for another Christmas Connections. And, it'll probably even be sold out by the time this episode goes to air. But, we are so grateful to be surrounded by such amazing mediums, and Sean's energy. Yeah, it just, it's another close connection that we have with him, and he is so generous to give back to our community as well.
No, absolutely. Doing it with the Aussies at that point, 2 Aussies in the top 3 mediums. I mean, we should probably look at the other countries. We've had a few other mediums in there as well. Now, obviously, the master of mediumship.
Absolutely, you're giving it away.
Yeah, I mean, look, still the most viewed and listened to episode of Spiritual as Fuck to date. Wow, I mean, can we top the feeling of finding out that we somehow manifested this interview, Diane?
I think that so many people in our community of practitioners don't think that they need permission because their ego gets in the way, and they think, oh, I could do this and I can do this and I'm going to do this. And a lot of people will say, like, have you ever had to stop and walk across the street and tell somebody? And I'm like, no, no, because it's wrong. So I always tell people that it's really important.
I think any spiritual gift, because I think of healers as well.
Yeah.
I've had those moments, and I blame it on my youth. I remember being at a psychic fair in Manhattan, and I don't normally eat, as I said. And this one day I got really hungry. I was like, wow, I don't think I'm gonna make it through the day. So I ran downstairs when I'm in Manhattan, so the street vendors. And as I'm waiting to order a hot dog from the street vendor, there was a woman getting ready to cross the street. I was already open. So I was like, I'm like, excuse me. And she was like, yes. I go, are you Kathy? And she was like, yes. You don't know me. I said, I'm doing psychic readings here at the psychic fair. I go, I just came down to get lunch. I go, but I think your dad's passed. I go, and I think today's your birthday. I said, and I want to wish you a happy birthday from your dad. And she looked at me, half of her wanted to run across the street. The other half got emotional. And I felt amazing. I was like, oh my God, this is why I had to come get a hot dog. That was that moment. It was an ego hit. It wasn't anything, I got my hot dog, went back upstairs, and I read for, that was 12:30, probably about 6 hours after that. So I was one of the last practitioners to leave. When I walked out the room, there was Kathy. And I was like, hey, do you work here? And she went, no. I go, what are you doing here? She goes, oh, I don't know. Some strange guy walks up to me on the street, knew it was my birthday, wished me a happy birthday from my dead father. I've been waiting to know what's the message? What was in that moment, I was so drained that I didn't have anything in me. I looked at her and I'm like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I go, that was a conversation that happened 6 hours ago. I can't make that happen again. I hope that was your dad's way of letting you know. He guided me down there probably. I tried to spin that in the most positive way. And she just looked at me like, what an asshole. And I ruined her birthday. I know that so much so that when Crossing Over was on the air, they came running up into the green room because we were getting ready to tape, and they go, we want you to see the promo live on. And they turned the TV on, and there was the promo, me walking towards the camera. And they go, what do you think? They looked at me like I was crazy. I went, I'm thinking that right about now, there's a woman named Kathy out there that's going, that's the asshole who messed up my birthday.
Oh, you feel really hard on yourself.
No, but that's how I am.
Oh, wow. John Edward, of course. I'm figured out who that was. Episode 13. Oh, that's one of
all the memories are flooding back from that one.
Exactly. That was an incredible life experience, the manifestation, the meeting him in person. And for us, what our listeners don't know is that John also gifted us, he must have stayed with us for half an hour, 40 minutes after we stopped filming, and had just the most, he was leaning against the kitchen sink in the apartment where we're filming and just chatted to us as if we'd known him all his life. Such an incredible human being.
Oh my God. I'm just going to say, hope you had a nice birthday, John, because he shares the same birthday, 19th of October, with my mum. I'll always remember that.
Shout out to Gloria too.
Yeah, I mean, God, it was just mental. We kept it secret beforehand. So I remember just dropping the teasers, like, who are we going to be meeting? And, it was the first time me and Diane, we were together, actually in person, no virtual podcast that day,
yeah.
which was just so good for us as well to be there. And yeah, God, just even waiting in the lobby area of the hotel.
Bag of
Every
nerves.
person that walked in, we were like, is it him? Is it him? And then he walked in wearing a mask. And so we didn't really know it was him. But I mean, even his presence is special. Like, you can feel his energy. He's got very strong, expansive energy. You can tell that's why he's a good medium. You can feel him fill the room. I did anyway.
Yes, yeah. And I think similar to Sean as well, what I loved is he's a natural teacher. Like, even, the clip that we've chosen here is such an important one for people starting out as mediums. It's like, okay, and not just mediums, it's healers, anything. If we've got a spiritual gift, just because we have it doesn't mean that we can impose it on others. That importance of getting permission to be able to share our gift with others. So it's so important for us to reshare that was, for me, a huge moment and a huge gift to our listeners and to us, because I know that we had been at the Mind, Body, Soul festival just before that, or Mind, Body, Spirit festival just before that. And someone had offered me a blessing or a healing. And I was like, oh, no, sort of shields up. It's like, I know for me, but a lot of people, it's like, we don't know who we're interacting with. So just knowing how important it is that if you've got the gift, you don't give without permission. But also, if you're receiving something, it's your choice whether you receive something or not, if it's given unintended. But yeah, John for us has been like, I've been to his live events. I've seen him, working in person. Liz, you brought a book that day that had been on your shelf for many, many, many years. Huge crossing over fan. So for both of us, we were totally fangirling.
Oh my God. I mean, looking back, it was pretty pathetic, Diane, wasn't it?
Oh, no, I have to say, I have to share for our listeners. So we're standing downstairs in the hallway, pacing, waiting for John to come into the foyer. And Liz is there, oh, maybe we should just do a video and put it on, on stories or whatever. And I'm thinking, I can barely breathe. I'm like, there is no way I can have a camera up. And like, Liz is just taking everything in her stride. And I am literally thinking, oh my God, I don't know that I'm even going to be able to get a word out of my mouth. There was just so much fangirl energy just coming off me. But without doubt, one of the most incredible, like the fact that we manifested John Edwards.
Oh, look, I mean, even that itself, he had come from one TV station from doing a morning show. He was going to another one. He was booked out every single minute of every day he was promoting his tour. And how the hell did the girls from Spiritual as Fuck that just started the podcast get that interview? Honestly. Like, Spirit lined that up for us. So whoever did that, thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely
awesome.
Absolutely. And if you haven't listened to the episode, listen back to it. If you haven't been to see one of John's shows, he comes to Australia. Like, he has such a connection with Australia. So just, next time you see him, go make sure that you book in, because even if you don't get a reading yourself, it's so incredible. You see other people and just the energy to see him work his gift, his craft, his stage presence. It is all such a beautiful experience.
Oh, I mean, the mediums, top 3 mediums. I mean, Jesus, there were a lot of listens in all of those. But obviously, we should probably move on from the mediums now.
Yes.
What's up next, Diane?
Shifting gears. Okay, so now we've chosen 3 of our guests who absolutely blew our minds. So these are the things that totally either freaked us out, left us with our jaw on the floor. So this guest is Alicia Temmerman, and that was episode 12 with Spirit Guides on Speed Dial. And Alicia blew our mind. So let's just look at a little snippet here from Alicia and see why that was the case.
But the distractions are strong with your earth. The distractions are strong, many, and varied. And so, it can be very difficult, even those of you whom regard yourselves as very, very far along the spiritual path. Okay. And then you get moments where you get brought down to earth so quickly, and you get distracted again with all the things that seem so important for your listening deeply, quietness, solitude, time for being with your own self, the greatness of you, this magnificent light being that is here, right here with you now. But yet you are searching outside of yourself in any and many directions for the answers. They are not to be found outside of yourselves. Even here in this transmission is not anywhere close to the information that is accessible to you by you within you. You see? It is all there, ready, waiting for you to find it within yourself.
How do you feel looking back at that one, Liz?
I thought it was the laugh. Oh my goodness. It's funny. Alicia is just awesome. This is definitely the most talked about episode.
Yes,
The people
100%.
that still talk to me about this episode is just, it's crazy. Because at the time we were really young in our journey.
Yes.
I'd never even bloody heard of someone channeling a spirit guide before. This blew my fucking mind. It's my French. It did. And it wasn't even that it blew my mind because I was talking again through a screen. It's because she was next to me and I was in my husband's office and the walls were paper thin. And I was just so paranoid because I knew that everyone could hear it. So I was like half listening to what was going on. But the other half of my brain is like, what the hell's going to happen after this? I'm going to get thrown out of the office. Brilliant.
Oh, it's so funny because our listeners would not know. Like, I didn't even know that was happening at the time. Like, I obviously knew that you were in your husband's office, like in the, a collective office workspace. And it was only afterwards that I realized, oh my God, you were trying to hold this together, knowing that people were walking past the glass, the glass windows, looking in at you, thinking, what is going on in there? But for those who don't know Alicia or don't, maybe have forgotten, but Alicia is a highly respected lawyer and a mum. And one day she's out with her laundry basket out at the washing line and starts channeling. It's like, I know for us,
in a man's voice.
In a man's voice. And we were like,
imagine?
oh my God, what if that happened? Like all of a sudden the possibilities of, oh my God, I'm almost afraid to go out with my washing.
Completely.
On the line.
I think that scared me a bit, but it was so fascinating. Yeah. And I think that's why this was spoken about so much. It's like, every so often you hear that type of thing happens, but then to witness it. And actually, I remember even feeling an energy shift in that room as that guide came into her body. And what was interesting, obviously, and please, like I urge everyone to go and re-listen to this or watch it for the first time if you haven't already. Her mannerisms, her body changed, her facial features changed, her voice obviously changed, her accent. Can you make that up? I mean, she'd have to be a bloody good actress. I mean, it was just incredible.
Yeah. And I love how she said, because we were asking her about this, she was just saying about people being so skeptical and, it takes a long time you realize, okay, am I going to start trying to convince people? And at the end of the day, she goes, I'm still a practicing lawyer. I'm a mom. I think she's got 4 kids. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, and she goes, I don't have time to make this.
Massive respect.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, like she is just phenomenal. Absolutely. And yes, you were in the room with Alicia, but I could feel that so much. And even just watching her mannerisms, her voice, her body movements, she took on the complete different persona as she was channeling this. And she did explain to us that, this is really a spirit coming in or a spirit guide coming in. And she gives it permission to take over her body. So you're seeing their mannerisms, you're hearing their voice. Obviously, it's still her voice box, it's still her vocal cords, but you can hear the difference in the language, the intonation, the hand gestures, the facial features, everything just changed. But undoubtedly, that was one of the most mind-blowing episodes that we had. So where do we go from there, Liz?
I mean, I feel like there is someone the matches are, but in a different way. It took us quite a while to get to this topic, but when we did, Jesus Christ, did we get the right person to talk about it? Actually, we were interviewing the incredible psychic medium Debbie Malone, and afterwards, just having a personal chit chat, we started to talk about UFOs, aliens, all of that unexplained stuff. And she mentioned this lady's name, Mary Rodwell. And we got onto that straight away and we organized an interview. But I don't know about you, Diane, but wow, she blew my mind, educated me. Yes. I don't know. She took me somewhere else, and I've watched a lot of alien documentaries, and I've always been fascinated. But geez, did she teach us some stuff?
Yes, yeah, and I think just her level of credibility, the amount of research that Mary has done, that you can't help but, like, even if you're the world's greatest skeptic, you cannot help but buy into what she's saying. She's absolutely phenomenal. And for those who haven't listened, Mary Rodwell, the alien lady is what she's known as, was episode 39. But have a little listen to this.
I had a 7-year-old explaining he's from the future, that he's come back in time to help with what's going on now, and explained his own experiences. And he said, and some of these intelligences have an IQ of over 400, he was explaining. And he explained that when they go up on the craft, they go to space school, and they're taught by these intelligences in groups, and there's other human children, and there's other children, he said, that weren't quite human. And I said, how do you know? He said, because their eyes were different. And he explained how he used his mind to create things. They showed them how to use their mind and are taught complex things. And I said to him, so can you tell me some of those complex things that you were taught? And he said, no, I can't, because it's too complex for you.
Oh, I love that clip. And I love that we've gone from a lawyer to a nurse, because Mary was a nurse in England. Again, like credible, I guess.
Highly educated.
Career. Yeah. Yeah, geez. I mean, she made me look at everything in a really different way, to be honest, after that. And I remember at the time when we launched that episode, the amount of comments that we got and questions through social media was mind-blowing.
Yeah, and a lot of people wanting, because they had experiences that she validated, like through listening to the episode, people realized, oh my gosh, I've had an encounter like this. And they were reaching out to Mary, and, we were helping put people in touch to be able to have that conversation, to suddenly feel like, oh my gosh, this is something I want to delve into. And now I feel like I've got the right person to support me. But the idea of like space school, like going up on spacecraft, and, whether you're like, you're doing this with your astral body, you're coming out of it. But we talked about everything from like UFOs and the UAPs to abductions, contact experiences. We went into galactics and starseeds, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Andromedans. Like, we literally went, on a tour of the galaxy of the universe with Mary. And, just knowing about, like, all you need to do is even just put Mary's name into YouTube and see the number of conferences that she is a prominent speaker at, like so highly regarded, highly respected. And, you're left with very little doubt that there is, there are other beings in the universe. There is multidimensionality, like not just physical extraterrestrials, but also multidimensional beings. But yeah, wow, that was a whole rabbit hole. It was opened up on that day. Absolutely.
And, anyone that's interested, go and grab a couple of Mary's books, because I know she's wrote a couple of books that are just meant to be mind-blowing. So yeah, check that out.
Oh gosh. So we've had a look at Alicia, we've had a look at Mary, and now for our third most mind-blowing clip, I'm actually just going to play this one, and then we'll chat about it afterwards, because this one, oh my God.
How to explain this one.
They tried to resuscitate the body. The body's cold by then. It's hard, like the muscle tissue is actually hardened. There was even some stiff joints already, and cold to the touch. So they did go ahead and pronounce the body dead. They call that a DOA here. They pronounced it, that they found it dead already.
They bagged it up in a body bag. They put it in the back of the ambulance, and they were going to go turn the body into the local medical examiner for an autopsy to figure out what had killed this guy. And this rookie medic, he's sitting in the back of the ambulance for about 40 minutes, staring at this body sitting in the body bag. And he had this mantra or this talking in his head. And that's the weird thing. From my perspective, I was actually watching all of this from above.
Vincent Tolman, wow. What?
Yeah. Episode 9, Beyond the Body Bag, A Life After Death Experience. Like, oh my freaking God. Like, for me, the absolute fear factor, it wasn't a fear I had before listening to this episode, but it certainly was afterwards. The thought of being in a body bag and observing yourself in that, like, that was beyond freak out for me. That just, and how he talks about it, he's so calm, he's so serene, really, when he speaks about it. But yeah, it was, for me, one of the most mind-blowing life after death experiences that I had ever heard.
Oh, God. I mean, I cried the first time I heard his story. There was something else that his story brings. It's a story of hope, love, belief in the afterlife. There's just so much to it as a near-death experience. And, for the first time ever, and we've never, ever done this since, we had a guest on the podcast that we didn't interview. In fact, we did a whole episode of him purely sharing his story, because I don't feel like if we tried to ask questions at that point, we would have spoilt it. We wouldn't have had the same impact. But just listening to his voice there again, he's definitely got that gift. I feel like this was meant to happen to him, and he is meant to be out in the world now sharing this story.
Absolutely. And I love then that we made the decision to call him back for another, and we haven't done this with any other guest, but then we brought him back and interviewed him because we were left with so many questions. We wanted to, that's the two of us anyway. We're so curious about this. And to then hear the experience that he had, the interactions that he had, it activates something in you, I think, to hear him speak, to hear his experience, and to know that, there is such profound beauty after death, after we pass away from this life. And he has brought that back to this realm, to this world with him now, and sharing his story to give people, as you said, so much hope. And his book is phenomenal. It is, you had read it, first of all, Liz, and it was one of those moments, oh my freaking God, you've got to read this book. And both of us were just completely enthralled and so grateful that we were able to get him on our podcast. But I know that for Vinny, it is so important for him to share his story, to give that, that ripple effect of hope out into the world is just, so beautiful.
I feel if, any of our listeners right now are living with any type of fear, fear of dying, fear of living, just anything really going on, that is the podcast I'd say go and listen to, because you are left with less fear after it.
Yes.
It's like everything is actually going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because when I go, the other side is just even more amazing.
Yeah. And what I love too is that, Vincent's belief in God. So it doesn't matter whether you believe in a higher power, whether you believe in the universe, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Allah, there is a message in that for everybody. So episode 9 is the one where Vincent tells a story, and then episode 10 is where Liz and I interview. And I do recommend listening to both of them, because you get so much more kind of uncovered in that second interview as well. But
yeah, I mean, you've tempted me. I'm going to go back and listen to those.
I'm the same. It's like we're preparing all of these little snippets that we're going through, but there's so much going back, and then I have to remind myself, shit, Liz, this is us. This is our podcast. It's like we're the ones who are actually doing it. But that is our wrap up of the 3 most mind-blowing experiences that we've had, the most mind-blowing moments with our guests.
We should probably go on to us now, though, right?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, because wow. It's funny, over the time we've been running the podcast, we get so many listeners that go, my favourite episodes are the ones where you two just chat together. I'm like, really?
We get so much of that. Yeah. And
have fun.
to be honest, that's what started us bringing in spiritual renegades and creating that community. It was like on Instagram, you can only, respond to so many messages, and people had this need, this desire to kind of connect with us more. And like, Liz, to be honest, for us, this is not a job. This is something that we get so much fun. We get so much, just joy out of banter. And it's our learning journey too. Like, we're figuring this shit out as we go. There's so much that we need to remember. But I know for me, one of the most profound ones, and it's one of our top listened to episodes as well, is about how the hell do mediums get their messages? So episode number 4. And the backstory behind this was, so Liz and I had obviously started spending more time together. And yes, you as listeners would have heard the podcast, but then I was catching up with Liz, like as we were preparing for the next episode, or we were, kind of doing some strategy sessions. And my mind was being blown every time Liz would say something would drop in and she'd have a message, or she'd been given, and I'm like watching her eyes and watching her facial expression, watching her hand movements. I'm thinking, how the fuck is she doing this? Like, where? and that was where how the hell do mediums get their messages came from. It was basically me, the curious mind, interviewing Liz and asking her to unravel and to tell us how she got her messages.
This was brand new. This had never happened. And the only way I can describe this was my whole energy was being like pulled, kind of like something you see on Star Wars, like when you see like an energetic field going from your body straight to a young guy across the room. And I was feeling my almost like my body being pulled forward with the strength of me being pulled towards this person. And very quickly, I was starting to receive what I can just only say or describe as like very quick flashes of light and feelings, and kind of all sorts of things drop into me really quickly. And it came to my time, and the fear came in, but I just found myself suddenly saying things about this watch, and I was like, this watch is owned by a man that's passed away. It belongs to the guy, and I pointed to the guy at the other side of the room, and your dad's actually here. It's your dad's watch. Is that correct? And the guy nodded back, and at that point, it was like I jumped in front of myself. Then and I was kind of like, what did I just say? What, he nodded? This is his dad's. Where did that information come from? And I walked out that day, honestly being really scared. I was really freaked out by that.
Oh, Liz, how do you feel watching that back? Because that was a big experience for you.
That is so funny, because I have just been thinking about that exact story this weekend. I was thinking about that exact moment in the memory. I don't know why, but how funny. Oh God, I mean, honestly, that moment was like 20 odd years ago from memory now. It was such a long time ago. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, this was like way back in the beginning when I first ever got led to the angel cards. So that happened in my early 20s. So, to come back then and then revisit mediumship and stuff in my 40s and awaken the gift. Well, yeah. I obviously thought I was only awakening the gift for the first time, but listening to that, definitely not. But yeah, funny. It's even funny to reflect how far I've come since sharing it, since that episode.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I find the beauty in us reflecting or doing this trip down memory lane. It's like, oh my God, how far we've both come. And then for you to have the realization that bloody hell, that's 20 years ago. That's huge. And I know for me, because even since that episode, like I have been, a participant in one of your workshops as well, where you're explaining like not only how your gifts come in or how you see things, how you hear things, how you feel things, but then teaching others to be able to tune into their gifts as well. Like for me, that not only being able to decode how you receive messages, but now being able to help others realize, shit, I can do some of this stuff too. And the results that we had on your course, like that was like, by the end of it, I was doing a reading on someone and they were like, I was having those oh shit moments while they were validating. Yes. How the fuck how am I doing this? Like, and a lot of it was like clairaudience that I wouldn't have tuned into before, or like clairsentience, yes. But I just think that listening to that episode for anyone who is curious about how mediumship works, or even just learning from another medium, because a lot of times we go through the experience of, here is a reading, and we're doing that process of just, we're in the moment of the reading. But the fact of, how does that information drop in? How does it get translated? And we do this with pretty much every person that we interview. We want to know, how do your gifts come through? How do you translate this? And like, I remember if I think back to Jonathan Lewis was talking, like, it's almost like he gets a screen on the side for all this information. So he's never looking directly at the client. He's looking at all these things. It fascinates me. And I just love that you were open enough, because that was still early in your journey, but you were open enough and raw enough to be able to answer all the dumbass questions that was coming at you with.
No, that was a really cool episode for me to do, actually, and it was fun. And I was a little bit wary on, like, being put the spotlight on me, but I feel in some ways it kind of helped me go on that journey of starting to break it down and teach other people.
Yes.
To be honest, because I'm all about kind of simplifying things and making things easy to follow, and I think that helped. So that was cool.
Absolutely. And you're a born teacher. Like, it's so for, like, I mean, like I said, I have the benefit of sitting in your sessions as well and just thinking, holy shit, I never thought about it that way. Or almost like my brain is going against something and thinking, oh, I don't want to do this. And I was like, oh, that's why I'm doing this. Like, you just know how to unlock that information for people. It's just amazing. And I know then that one of the other episodes that I personally loved, that was and even how we came up with the title for this one.
I know exactly what you're going to say now.
Episode 6, Don't Fuck With My Field. Oh my gosh, we laughed so much at this. And like, behind the scenes, Liz and I are always chanting, what are we going to call this one? What are we going to call this one? And we were going round and round and mulling over. And we couldn't figure out what to call this. And it was like, wait, it's almost like, don't fuck with my field. I was like, can we really say that?
Well, I guess because we've got the F word in our title, we get permission.
But it was one of ours, like, almost that's, flipping on its head, that view of, being afraid of spirituality, being afraid of opening up your gifts and giving people, like, almost that permission to say, do not fuck with my field. And here are some ways to do that.
Oh, quick, let's take a listen. I'm dying for this one.
Dr. David Hawkins is like a world-renowned, he is a psychiatrist, but that's not necessarily what he is mostly known for. He's done a huge amount of research in all things consciousness related, but he came up with a scale and map of consciousness. And it basically is showing that those, as we were talking about, kind of denser or heavier energy. So if we think of something like fear, then that's a lower vibration, that we tend to be in a kind of a more victim mentality, more feeling sorry for ourselves. Like, it doesn't have a good ripple effect, whether on yourself or out into the world. But then there are different, let's call them emotions, for want of a better word, that as you progress up this scale of consciousness, and love and joy and peace are, some of those that are up at the highest. So when I had discovered this, I would look at it and say, well, where am I operating today? Am I in anger? Am I in grief? Am I in despair? Where am I on this map of consciousness? And then where do I want to be? Then what am I going to do to be able to move myself or shift myself into that vibration? Because that is a lot higher, and it's a lot more conducive to a better human existence and a better ripple effect out into humanity as well, if you're operating at that higher level of conscious.
That was a good chat, wasn't it? It was the first time we delved into energy.
Yes. Yeah. And I was totally geeking out.
Oh, you were like completely in your element, Diane. I heard all of the science, the facts, the figures, but I found it really interesting.
Oh my gosh, it is. Like, I loved that episode, because it kind of, like, every time that we do an episode, it causes us to look at things from a different perspective and think about what are some of the tools or techniques or, the things that we rely upon on our journey as well. And even, since that episode, that is still something that I use in my coaching practice, in my online programs. Like Dr. David Hawkins, that scale of consciousness for me is such a phenomenal tool, such an easy way for us to remember about how to raise your vibration, and even the visual of checking out, well, okay, where am I on this scale? Am I really down in the dense energy, or am I'm living and operating from joy, from love, from those higher frequencies? It's just, yeah, look at me, I'm getting all geeking out again.
Look, you could carry on for hours on this subject, couldn't you, Diane?
Absolutely. But yeah, if you're interested in, just like, whether you want to call it protection, whether you want to say that you're claiming your space, but just if you're looking at your energetic field and energy overall, that is such a great episode to look back at. And just remembering that, like all of our episodes, Liz and I don't know everything, but we're quite happy to banter it out and have a chat about what's working for us, what's not. And always interested to hear from our listeners on things that they're doing as well, or even challenging our perspectives. Like, that's such a great thing as well. But that was, for me, one of my favorite episodes that was kind of bouncing off each other.
That was fun. And God, we're at number 3 already of this one, aren't we? My goodness.
Exactly. Yes.
I remember this was actually not too long ago, this particular episode, but it was like we realized that there was a very important subject that we needed to go back to, but in a whole different way. And that was everything to do with spiritual awakening. And Diane and I actually sat down for a while beforehand and sat down and put together from experience, well, what are the tips that we have from it going through various different spiritual awakenings at different times throughout our life? Like, what is really important to share? What is the information that we wish we had had when we were going through that first one, or the second, or the third, or the 10th? That it was a really interesting one to put together. And I feel even for the fact of having it out in the world, it can definitely help people feel better.
Absolutely. And I know that we both set the intention that we wanted it to be something that we knew we needed. Like, when I think back to our first and second episode and we were talking about our experiences with spiritual awakening, this episode was a great one for us to reflect on, again, how far we'd come, but also it was kind of pushing us, which is part of our, the kind of the DNA of our podcast as well. It's like we're always looking for ways, like, how can we either teach, how can we help, how can we educate, how can we get resources out to people as well, and to have those 8 tips for spiritual awakening. So it's episode 43 for anyone who wants to go back and listen to it, but 8 tips for spiritual awakening, and then creating a resource that went with that as well that people could download. But it was a huge. So let's have a little snippet from that one.
During an awakening, and what happens is, and you just don't know this, is that so your energy is elevated, it's expansive, and it's a higher frequency. So when you are around people, it's clashing because you're on just a different state. What I was finding was happening, that I could be with somebody without having any inclination. I would be picking up and carrying along that person's emotions and owning them. I was like, I'm feeling really emotional. Oh my God, because it was like amplified. So for the first few weeks, because I was so expansive and like the energy was going off the charts, was that I was just like taking on everyone's stuff here. And so if you are going through an awakening, one of the ways that you're going to know that is if you are feeling really emotional, and that's amplified.
Yes.
That is a big kind of red flag. Okay, cleanse your energy field. You are potentially trolling other people's stuff. You are probably carrying lots of things along with you.
Oh, it just brings me back to us. Like, and that, as I said, it is a recent episode for us going through that, but it was so almost like cathartic to go through and actually think about, wow, what we went through.
What a journey.
Still going through. Exactly. And just knowing, because I guess for us, because we've got the Spiritual Renegades community, we have a lot of things reflected back, and there's a lot of, conversation that's in a safer place that people can talk about these episodes as well. And we did have an additional episode around this as well, which was only for our exclusive members. But that as well was like another building block on top of this, which I absolutely loved. But So Liz,
Oh, the best. I mean, that's just been such a fun exercise. I mean, honestly, like, there's so many more clips to go through and just to share. And maybe one day I'm going to sit down and start from episode 1 again and re-listen to our voices. At some point. Happy 50th anniversary episode, Diane.
oh, and you, Liz. Oh my God, who would have bloody thought it? Like literally, that we are doing this in the world together. And now the fact that we're on opposite sides of the globe, we're still doing it. And that has all sprung into, an Instagram following, a Facebook following, some live events that we dabbled with and then turned up to be, established regular events with people signing up to join us online, to bring some amazing spiritual teachers out to people as well, so we can actually have more teachable moments. And then to think that that even sprung up our community, like our spiritual renegade community, that, what started out as a podcast and, an initial invitation from Liz to me about, should we do this podcast together, to think how far we've come. It just blows my mind. Like, I am so grateful every single day for this in my life.
Oh, absolutely. Diane, you're incredible. Thank you for everything that you have taught me. It's just been such a pleasure. And I still feel like this is just the start. So
absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like there's so much more to do. And especially with the community, I think that we try now and design everything for what we would have wanted and needed. And I think we're seeing and experiencing people just going into these spiritual awakenings through the world. And, there's lots of talk of us moving into the new world, and, all of our vibrations are going higher and stuff. So I feel like maybe one day we'll just suddenly get another few thousand people on there. Who knows where we're going to go? And we might have a few star beings involved in the rap as well.
Interdimensionals, we take all. We're not.
I'll see you in the 5D tonight, Diane.
Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, we're 50 episodes in, and it's exciting to even think of the stuff that we've got coming up as well, because, geez, I mean, there's so many more guests that we want to have on. We've got a list. But even going into early new year, we've got a neurosurgeon with another absolutely crazy near-death experience. And he was a guy that did not believe in anything like this, which is going to be super interesting. And we're delving into everything from feng shui to human design and everything in between. So, my God, watch this space. If you do not follow this show, please go and click follow, all right? Do not miss this.
And definitely everything you need to know is either in our newsletter or it's on Instagram. Newsletter always comes first. But I think even I'm so excited about, even before we get into, the guts of 2025, it's like our upcoming Christmas connections. Like the fact that we've got Sean coming back to do that is incredible. And then last year, people may have remembered, we had Ali Skiba come on, who did a beautiful sound healing with a bonus episode to just get us ready for 2024. We have another guest coming in who's going to set us up for 2025. And that episode goes live on the 26th of December. And that's such a special one as well. Yes. We needed to have the exact right person that was kind of closing out 24, opening up 2025. And then kicking off 2025, for those who had enjoyed numerology, we have Joy Woodward coming in to kick us off with some predictions, some numerological predictions for 2025. So, oh my God, there's just so much stuff and still so much more that we want to do.
Oh God, I know, bloody hell. Got too much to do. The to-do lists are getting crazy. But honestly, I guess if I'm to tell you to do anything, just go and even subscribe for the newsletter. Anyone on the newsletter actually gets early access to every event, to basically all the exciting stuff that comes out. So go and pop your name down on there. And just to wrap up, thank you to every single one of you for just making this journey a delight. Every time we look at our analytics and we release a podcast, we sit and still watch the number tick up and keep going and keep going. And we still get that same feeling, that those butterflies of, wow, this is just so magic. So thank you very, very much. Happy 50th episode to you two. And please make sure you reach out if you have actually listened to every 50 episodes. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes. Oh, definitely. There may
Maybe
be a
there's a
gold
prize
star
in that
moment
one.
in that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we find surprises.
Has to be. Oh, from the bottom of our hearts, we just want to say thank you to each and every one of you, whether you're a guest, whether you're a listener, whether you're someone who joined in one of our online events, or whether you're a diehard member of our Spiritual Renegades online community. This podcast is not possible without you. If we don't have the listeners, we don't have the guests, we can't continue to do what we love. And boy, do we love it, Liz. So may you all continue to stay spiritual as fuck.
That's it for another episode. Thank you for listening.
If you're looking for a place to feel at home and want to level up your spiritual game, head to our website, spiritualaf.co, to check out our upcoming online events and for information on how to join our Spiritual Renegades community.
Plus, leave us a 5-star review with an awesome comment on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and we're going to send you a free ticket to one of our Supercharged session events.
Until next time, stay spiritual as fuck.